everybody! Welcome back to Luna Spooktober events. Today we are going to be reading another creepypasta. Yeah, this one is the Rake. It was created April 27th, 2009. Yeah, I've heard of the Rake, so this one I like. I'm kind of excited for this one because I've seen like pictures of it and stuff. Okay, creepypasta presents the Rake. As the sun begins to set, and the trees huddle together in small dark groups, as if shielding themselves against the coming of night, you step quietly and quickly through the carpet of fallen leaves and stray twigs, recognizing and noting as you do every rustle, every snap of a branch created by your own footfalls. You note them so that you can distinguish them from the other sounds, the soft rustling of leaves, the crack of bracken somewhere behind you. You increase your speed, knowing that night is not the only thing drawing closer. The sound increases as your pace and heartbeats quicken. You turn and in the fading light catch a single glimpse of the hunched, crawling thing that is pursuing you, creeping forward like an animal and yet looking so horribly human. You only caught a single glimpse, but then you start to run. One glimpse is enough. Ooh, spooky. Overview. Mostly associated with the image of a bald, pale-skinned creature hunched at an angle with bright, orb-like eyes staring into the camera, the Rake has become a staple creepypasta monster, adopted by many authors as shorthand for a creature resembling the one depicted in the photo and placed in various settings. Oh, so it is based off the picture. Oh man. During the summer of 2003, events in the northeastern United States involving a strange, human-like creature sparked brief local media interest before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little or no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Really? Oh. Primarily focused in rural New York State, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with a creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remained powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration had accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and present day, spanning 4 continents. In almost all cases, the stories were identical. I've been in contact with a member of this group and was able to get some excerpts from their upcoming book, The Rake Creepypasta, A Suicide Note, 1964. Can I say that? I've seen a lot of other YouTubers don't say that, so I'll just say an unalive note. An unalive note, 1964. So this unalive note was found in the same wooden box where 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Lenny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry, translated from Spanish. Oh, you see that? Just so scary. Okay. Translated from Spanish from 1880. Whoa. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice, unintelligible text. Ooh. A mariner's log, 1691. That's a long time ago. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt this sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake. Ooh. Oh he's really scary. From a witness in 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family from the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. Excuse me. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knee almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. What? That was weird. After adjusting to the dark for a half second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhere under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into a fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot away from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably closer to 5, it just seemed like a while, just looking at my husband. The creature then placed its hand on his knee and ran into the hallway, leading to the kids' rooms. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter Sierra. Where's that Clara? The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the Rake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. He did not survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now referred to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believed to be the accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry in that log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night, every night for 2 weeks. I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. This took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to describe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I have not seen the Rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me. That's really scary. His appearance. The Rake is the name given to a strange pale-skinned creature that stalks its victims on all fours and has an appearance that somewhat resembles a mutated dog. The fanged and taloned creature is commonly said to live in the woods or forested areas. However, the spread of the character and the resulting lack of common rules around its habitat or behaviors means that it now has a far wider presence, moving away from the woods and forests to be found in more urban areas, and even repeating the common creepypasta trope of appearing at the end of people's bed or in their rooms at night. The common consensus on the creature's appearance shows it to have large, bulbous eyes that are reflective when caught in the light of a camera, a drooping jaw with a large, fang-filled mouth, and often either a nose that is missing entirely or which is simply an open socket, similar to that of a skull. The creature is usually shown naked and crawling toward the viewer on all fours, suggesting that though it is bipedal, it prefers to stalk victims in a manner similar to a four-legged animal. The matter of the Rake's appearance is an interesting one that is linked directly to the myth's origins and development, and to an image that had even the mainstream media duped. Excuse me. Origins and images. And an origin similar to that of the Slender Man, the mythic creature known as the Rake originally evolved out of a 2005 thread on 4chan, where an anonymous poster on the B board suggested that contributors try to collaboratively come up with ideas for a new monster. After some initial back and forth discussion, one particular idea was chosen as the most promising candidate and began to be formed, added to, and manipulated by several users. The descriptions of this creature, which went through numerous adumbrations before finally settling, shared some characteristic with the commonly accepted Rake image that is widespread today. However, there are also some glaring differences. For example, the original suggestions called for 3 eyes, while the most common vision of the Rake only has 2, and for the creature to lack other facial features, having, for example, a missing nose or mouth. The first story to feature the Rake appeared in Brian Somerville's personal blog. I think that's supposed to say Brian. Yeah. I think that's supposed to say Brian. The first story to feature the Rake appeared on Brian Somerville's personal blog on July 20th, 2006. Somerville, who was a regular user of Something Awful site, provided a backstory for the Rake, and with its story, cemented some of the more commonly accepted features of the creature's appearance. The story indicates that sightings of Rake-like creatures date back as far as the 12th century, that the first records of the creature are from the 17th century, and that the creature can be linked to the unexplained phenomena and sightings of cryptid-like beings in the northeastern United States. By late 2008, Rake stories appeared on LiveJournal. The story and variants featuring the Rake appeared on Something Awful and 4chan by the following year and first appeared on the paranormal subreddit in 2010. It later found its way into creepypasta forums and began increasing in popularity. A common misconception is that the appearance of the Rake is based off of the widely shared image of a creature with glowing eyes, staring into the camera of a deer hunter that is sometimes referred to as Berwick Monster. This image, which is now the one most closely associated with the Rake mythology, and the common starting point from which most Rake fan art and variants are derived, was actually taken seriously by mainstream media outlets when it first appeared. The still image, alleged to have been extracted from the memory card of a now broken night vision camera, was posted to the Wild Game Innovation site by someone claiming to have actually encountered the creature. The image and story of this strange encounter was then picked up by media outlets as widespread as Britain's The Daily Mail and NBC, which featured the image and a brief report on the alleged sighting on its morning show. However, rather than this image influencing the initial ideas of the Rake's appearance, the timeline seems to indicate that the Rake stories were retrospectively linked to this image, since discussions about the creature's appearance, Somerville's original story, and the first postings to major creepypasta and paranormal sites predate the image's creation and appearance in news media. Green Hat says, I was just looking for a pasta recipe. I don't think that dude is meant to go in my macaroni. Somebody said, ah! Oh, that's his name. Yes, then sprinkle a little bit of Rake in there. Maybe some eyeless Jack if you want it to get a little spicy. It is funny. Cries in Spanish. I've seen footage of the Rake. It was probably fake, but it scared me. Big Chungus said, I live in the middle of the forest in a cabin. And after reading that, I think I'm moving out of this place. Han Han Baguette says, this. I like this. Purple Scissors said, when I saw the photo, I swear I pissed my pants. And Random Stalker replied, to be honest, it isn't as scary as me when I wake up. It's funny. Okay, well this has been a creepypasta The Rake. It was pretty spooky. I even skipped some of the stuff. Look at that. Spooky, scary rakes and shivers down my spine. Yeah. With glowing eyes and missing teeth, he's sure to give a fright. That is really spooky. It could be a Wendigo or a skinwalker. I believe in those things. Spooky! Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me on this Spooktober event thingy-mabobber. Yeah. If you like my content, make sure you check out my other videos and stuff. And subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it, I do. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!